Welcome back, everyone. It is the 90 Minute Podcast, and we are back once again. It is draft season, ladies and gentlemen. Adam's quality's better. It's a brand new, beautiful freaking day. Let's get ready for some mock drafts. We're doing mine first. Adam, would you like to say anything?
No, I'm good. Stay tuned. I'm not gonna be doing mine in this video. It'll be in a separate video. But nothing from the best. Let's see what dumb picks just had. Let me guess. Trevor
Adam
Lawrence.
thinks he just knows better than me. He doesn't. I have a superior mock draft to his. I haven't heard his yet. He hasn't heard mine, but mine's just better. It's easy.
No.
It's easily better. And it starts being easily better with the first pick of the draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock. They shouldn't take too much time on the clock. This has been in the works since last year. Tank for Trevor has been going on all year, so they're taking, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, first overall quarterback from Clemson. I mean, He's got all the traits you wanted of a pro-style quarterback. He's mobile, he's accurate, he's a winner. You know.
Yeah, he has nice hair.
True. That is also true. Him and his wife have a hair competition every morning, sources tell me. So that is something that you can look for in your franchise quarterback, Jacksonville.
Yeah. No debates. Just you said it like. What I hate it when the first pick in the draft takes the entire clock to draft. Like you've been thinking about this for months.
Exactly.
We all know. Like if the Jaguars wait till the last second, I'm going to be pissed because like I got school the next day. Like I don't want to sit there and
like
wait them.
We all know it's like it is a holiday.
I love the draft, but like I don't want to be I don't want to be staying up to like 2 o'clock in the morning when it can be done at like.
I want all that smoke.
Oh god. Okay, just go to the next pick.
Next pick. It's starting to get more and more obvious every day, in my opinion. Although you still could go a multitude of directions. I still think it's going to be Zach Wilson to the Jets. Zach Wilson just exploded up draft boards this year he's throwing to dudes like Mitt Romney's nephew, yet he's throwing bombs down the field. He knows how to improvise. He's got a good arm. He's very boom or bust. I think he's going to boom. He just has that swagger. He has that franchise quarterbackness. And he could fit that Jets new offensive scheme. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, again, no debates. Like you said, the boom and the bust. And the boom and the bust doesn't have to do with him. It has to do with how the Jets surround him. Because I think Darnold coming out of school had a lot of talent. The Jets did not do well surrounding him. And that's with every young quarterback. If you don't surround them correctly, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you look, the Jaguars surrounded Blake Bortles correctly, and they brought him to the AFC Championship game. So it's all like I say, if they surround him correct, he could easily be a top 10 quarterback in the league. But if they don't, he's going to be another Sam Darnold, where he goes to another team, and it really depends on how the other team treats him.
The Jaguars blew up because of Giants legend Tom Coughlin.
We won 2 Super Bowls with Tom Coughlin, so I'm not complaining.
And the Jaguars lost all their talents. Anyway, maybe he just has a thing for New Yorkers. He drafted his son-in-law in New York, so maybe he would never do that in Jacksonville, I guess. It was his retirement home. Let's be real. Number 3, everyone's saying it's going to be Mac Jones. Why do people think Mac Jones is going to the San Francisco 49ers at 3? You're not trading up to just get a version of Jimmy Garoppolo light. He's not going to give you anything that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't. With the 3rd pick, I'm going Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State to San Francisco. I think a lot of people like to scout the helmet more than they do the player with Justin Fields. People have issues with his vision, but I mean, he has such great talent. And in that Shanahan system, which everyone says, oh, that's Mac Jones' like preferred system. No, if you can put any quarterback in a Shanahan system and they're going to succeed. I think that Justin Fields is very similar to like a Ryan Tannehill of sorts. I think that he's a little bit basic. At worst, he's going to be a game manager, but he can make big time throws. So huge upside. Also boomer bust. But go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't say Fields is a boomer bust, and the pick really depends. And like, yes, at first when they first traded up, I heard Mac Jones. More recently, I've been hearing a lot of Fields, but it really depends on if the 49ers think they're win now, or like win in like the next year or two, or win in a couple years. Because right, if you think you want to win now and get rid of Garoppolo, you take Mac Jones because you have a better chance at winning now with Mac Jones than you are with Fields. But if you want to wait a couple years and then be the top team in the like. Because I think at the end of their careers, Fields is going to be better, but it really depends on how the 49ers view their team now with who they pick. And with the upside of taking Mac Jones, and you said he's very similar to Garoppolo, which is true, but you get that rookie contract. You'll have 5 years to win one with you have a lot of talent on that defense that you need to pay. And giving $25 million to Garoppolo, yes, that still is very little for a quarterback, or I think it's about average now for a quarterback. It's still an extra $20 million in cap space that you can use to sign people that will help you win more games.
I'm gonna be real with you, Adam. Nobody wants Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Nobody wants him.
No.
He's gonna be a perfect bridge quarterback right now. So they still can win with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback, but once his contract expires, you're going to want someone who comes off the bench and gives you a spark, not somebody who's going to give you more mediocrity, who's going to dump it off to Deebo Samuel and let him run 30 yards. Instead, maybe go deep for Ayuk or something. You know, you want the quarterback who's going to do more for you than just, go through the motions and stay in the pocket.
I get that, but with the amount of talent that they have on their team, you want a quarterback that will manage the game, not the quarterback because
I think
like
Justin
you said,
Fields could.
Oh yeah, Fields definitely has the potential, but you said boomer bust. It's either Fields is going to be the quarterback goes out there and win you all the games, or he's going to be the one that loses you all the games. And with that talent, you might as well take
Okay.
It's all about how they view the rest of their team.
Listen,
so now let's just get to the next pick.
Listen, if he busts, worst comes to worst, you got the greatest quarterback of all time in Josh Rosen on your roster. All right, but on to the next pick now. Atlanta is in such a weird position with this next pick, right? They probably shouldn't be picking this high. And a lot of people in the early processes, they should go quarterback to replace Matt Ryan. No, Matt Ryan took a pay cut. He's not doing that. I think the Falcons need to address the defense, but there's no defensive player that I would take this high. So, I have the first trade of the draft. I have the Los Angeles Chargers trading Dean Spanos and their old soccer field to the Atlanta Falcons for the 4th overall pick. And with that 4th overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers are going to take Penei Sewell, an offensive tackle out of Oregon.
Wait. What was the actual trade?
The trade is Dean Spanos and their old soccer field. The StubHub field. Yeah, by the way, none of these trades, I don't want to bore you to death with the picks, the compensation. Just know that it's going to be fair for your team, no matter what it is. It's going to be fair, but I don't want to go through all the trouble of doing that, so you're just going to have to use your imagination and have a good time with me, okay? They give Atlanta, you get Dean Spanos, greatest top 5 owner of all time, and a soccer field where you could have more voting registration places, because I know Atlanta loves to do that. So, but I like this trade not only because Atlanta can move back in the draft and get somebody with better value instead of reaching for a talent, but Penei Sewell and Justin Herbert want to reunite. Penei Sewell is a once-in-a-generation offensive tackle prospect. They need a left tackle badly. If they can get a left tackle, now they have Sewell, they have Lindsley, they have Bulaga on that line. With Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton, that offense can be dynamic next year. Even though they have a defensive-minded head coach who's gonna probably be manning the defense, adding Penei Sewell might actually make the Chargers compete, and I think that they would be willing to give up a sum to move up like that and leapfrog the Bengals, who would probably take him with the next pick.
I think that's a great pickup for the Chargers, but I would like to know the specifics to the trade instead of
honestly. I think that the Chargers might even. It might even be worth giving up a first round next year because you have your quarterback of the future. You have a young offense set in place. You can. I think.
What was it? How many games did they win last year? How many games did they win this year?
I think they won 6 or 7 around that.
Yeah, they won 7 with a rookie quarterback and a terrible head coach. What was it? They had a lot of games that they should have won that they didn't in the last second. So yeah, I think that's a great trade trading up because next year, if you make that trade, the first round pick won't be as valuable as it would be if you don't get that tackle for Herbert.
I mean, they could probably stay still and get someone like Christian Darrisaw, which would be a fine pickup. But Penei Sewell, I think, is even better, and I think that they should be all in on trading up to get Penei Sewell, and I think the Falcons are a perfect trade back spot.
Okay, next one.
Next one.
Cincinnati
Cincinnati.
Bengals, Jamar Chase. I already know you're doing Jamar Chase because Joe
No.
Burrow wants. Oh,
Listen. I know Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase, and
Kyle
Joe Burrow
Pitts.
usually gets what he wants with the Bengals. But Joe Burrow needs to stay healthy, right? And
Yeah.
I think that you can get there are plenty of quality receiver options that you can get round two, especially because they're picking early round two. You can get someone like a Diami Brown who does similar things to what AJ Green did. You can get him second round. You can get a Kadarius Toney if that's your poison. You can get a Terrence Marshall second round, which would be perfect scenario. But first round, they reach a little bit, and I have them taking Rashawn Slater, a tackle from Northwestern at 5. Joe
Yeah.
Burrow, I mean, at the end of the day, he has some weapons. He just needs to he needs to be secure in that pocket. I think Slater can
Mhm.
play either tackle position, can play either guard position. He could slide at guard. He hasn't played guard, but, everyone looks at his short arms and says that he could play guard. And that would be fine if they move Jonah Williams into guard and they put Rashawn Slater at tackle with Riley Reef. That offensive line is now better. You can build on it moving forward. It can grow
Mhm.
with Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow can have a great season because Joe Burrow was not the issue last year. Let's be real. Joe Burrow had a great rookie year until he tore his ACL.
Oh yeah, there's a, and you said he did. He does have a lot of targets. He has Tyler Boyd and T Higgins, who both have a lot of talent. That if they but I think the best thing for them is to protect them, and in the later rounds get one more receiver or one more pass catcher, tight end, whatever you think is best. But you got to first thing you got to do is protect, and
Exactly.
it's kind of like Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones. They have people to throw to when everyone's healthy. They just have no time to throw.
Carson Wentz had at best Ertz. At best
Yeah,
Ertz.
when
Uh,
everyone was healthy.
he
Yeah,
had a good
okay.
O line until this past year, but that
Yeah,
was nobody's fault except for injury bugs. All right.
okay.
And at
Next
number
pick,
6, this should be really obvious. Jamar Chase
Miami
is going to
Dolphins.
Miami. I mean, yeah, you could probably read that. Tua got Will Fuller. I like that, except Tua isn't really a deep ball thrower. He could be, but he isn't. Jamar Chase can do more things in the short to intermediate. Jamar Chase can line up anywhere for you. He's going to get open. He's a generational receiver prospect. There isn't a lot to be said.
Well, it's kind of obvious that defense is very talented. So you're not going to trade up to get another defender. And it was really between Pitts and Chase, in my opinion. And I guess but you went with Chase the way I think is the best way because Will Fuller's only a 1 year contract. They still have Mike Gesicki, who's a very talented tight end, and Jamar Chase is probably most people have him as the best pass catcher in this draft.
Yeah, and I like the Gesicki Tua connection. Whenever they played, I think Gesicki got more touches with Tua there. Gesicki had a great year, and I think that bringing another tight end, even though Slater can line up, not Slater. Oh my God, Pitts can line up anywhere. I think that getting Chase, who also can line up anywhere except for maybe in line, would just be better for Tua because you need that
Mm-hmm.
number one receiver. You have Devontae Parker. He's a good number 2, I think. And yeah,
No, that's
number
Devontae Parker is just hot and cold. When he's
yeah.
hot, he's one of the best receivers in the league. When he's cold, he's nowhere.
He's pretty good as a flex in fantasy. He's pretty underrated as a
Yeah,
flex in fantasy. Let
he
me tell you
saved
that.
me. 2 years ago, he saved my team. Okay, going on. Next pick, number
On
7.
to number 7, Detroit needs to fix everything. They need to go everywhere. But with the philosophy that Dan Campbell brings in, I think they're gonna want kind of blue collar work. They're gonna want a blue collar people who are ready to play with intensity. And they're gonna get the best defensive player in this draft because I think that they can fix that defense, they can fix that offense, they can fix everything. I think they're gonna wait it out with Goff for a year and then maybe get the top quarterback in the draft next year. So I got them going Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State at
Michael
number
Parsons.
7.
Yeah.
I think that's a good pickup for them, just because. I mean, they lost Jared Davis, right? So they have a hole there. It's not like you're just picking best available, but I think he is best available at this point. He can cover, he can
Well,
blitz, he can do anything for your defense. I think he's a perfect building point that you can build around. They have pretty good edge rushers, with the Okwaras and Flowers is fine. I just think Parsons is best player available, and that's what I think Detroit should do if they
well,
don't
that's the
trade
thing.
down.
On the field, Parsons is one of the biggest linebacker prospects in the past couple years in recent history.
Off the field issues,
Yeah, I was gonna say there are some, and I don't know the truth of these, but
bro.
if the fact that a lot that's the thing. If I feel if there's nothing said about his off the field things, true or not, he could easily go number 4 to Atlanta.
I guarantee, I bet you
I
people
don't.
like Ray Lewis have probably done worse things to their teammates. Ray Lewis has done worse things to other people in real life, and he was still a top linebacker of all time. It's
Yeah,
not like he can't stay off the damn weed like a Reuben Foster.
yeah,
He's gonna be on the field. His off-field concerns are basically just like he hazed
yeah.
a teammate too hard. Right, and also like that was
So
months ago. There hasn't really been a follow up. I'm not buying it.
that's
I
why.
think Parsons is the best defensive player in this draft, and I think that's where
That's why.
Detroit goes.
That's why I had him going much earlier than I've seen a lot of mock drafts happen. But we'll stay tuned to that.
Yeah.
My pick number 8,
At
I
number
believe
8,
that is.
Carolina is thanking their lucky stars. Carolina said,
I know
"We
exactly
need a
who this.
tight end, Lord. We
Kyle
need a tight
Pitts.
end bad. We need a
Kyle
pass
Pitts.
catcher for our new quarterback, Samuel L. Darnold." I don't know what his middle name is, but I'm just going to assume it's L. And they cut. Their wishes came true because Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida, the best tight end we've seen in years, fell right into their lap, and that's who
Yeah.
they take with the 8th pick. This fit is something I've been saying since like September. This is a fit that I'm going to brag a little bit. I said that if Kyle Pitts can fall to Carolina, that is who they are selecting. No ifs, ands, or buts. Kyle Pitts to Carolina, ink it in.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great pickup for them. Pitts is very talented. But it just bothers me that the one year that the Giants are out of the top 10 picks, offensively, there's a lot of talent. There's Jamar Chase, one of the best receiving prospects in recent history. Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell, Trevor Lawrence. There's so much talent in this
Don't worry,
offensive
I got
draft class. It's terrible.
The Giants are gonna get someone who they need. All right, you're
Yeah,
gonna be
I think
fine.
I. Okay, next pick.
Just wait. At number
Pick
9,
number
we have Los Denver Broncos.
Trey
And oh
Lance.
boy.
I'm calling it.
No, they're taking yeah, they're taking Trey Lance. I think
Yeah.
I mean their defense, I would say corner, they might have gone with Patrick Surtain. But they signed Caleb Farley even though it's a 1-year deal. They got Ronald Darby. He's a solid corner too, as I was saying in the last video. Um I think that their defense is fine for now. But Drew Lock isn't it. You can't be putting your future into a second round quarterback who disappointed this year. I think Trey Lance, if you even like sit him for a little bit behind Drew Lock, I still think Drew Lock can give you another year. That's fine. Trey Lance can sit, but
Yeah.
Trey Lance. Everyone thinks he's a huge boomer bust, but if nothing else, he can fall back on his running ability. I think his running ability is super underrated. He reminds me of a Steve McNair. I saw that comparison and I thought, yeah, that's hefty. But at his peak, he could be like a Steve McNair. I mean, there's always that Patrick Mahomes type quarterback that everyone's trying to get in every draft. Last year it was Jordan Love. Um, People want to bet on that upside, and I think that Trey Lance is the epitome of upside. He just needs to work a little bit on his
Mm-hmm.
that decision making and getting acclimated to the NFL level, and I think that Denver's the perfect place to do it.
I don't know enough about Trey Lance to really put him there at to knock
Trust him,
him
he's a
or
North
anything.
Dakota State quarterback.
Yeah, but the only thing that puts red flags in my mind is that he is a smaller school and hasn't had a large amount of starts. Because I know he opted out this year it is what it is. Yes, there's a lot of reasons for that, and it's not really against him. But I see that as a big red flag, which is why I had him falling a lot more than people expected
Well,
in my mock draft.
he didn't opt out. It was the team that opted out. The team played one showcase
Oh,
game and then they didn't play anymore. And I mean, the small school, it can be an issue, but
it's
when you're talented, you're
yeah,
talented. Carson Wentz
I
only had
agree.
23 starts in college, out of the same school, same program, and
Hmm.
he's turned out to be a solid NFL quarterback. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
that's
not
it.
this last season, but
It's talent. That's the thing. It's talent. Obviously, yeah, talent is talent. But it's just it's always going to be a red flag to me, and doesn't mean every quarterbacks have their red flags coming out of college. Everybody does, but that to me is always a red flag with the quarterback or a corner coming out of a small school, or this could be other positions because they don't go against the talent that like the jump is huge. But then again, like if you surround him correctly, or like if he has the talent, you let him play. You go for him. If you think he's your guy, you take him.
Yeah, I
And with the
mean,
10th pick, the Dallas Cowboys are taking.
Patrick Surtain, quarterback out of Alabama. Patrick Surtain Jr. Actually, his dad was also a solid NFL corner for the Dolphins. I mean, it's simple as that. This is like one of the best fits of the draft, if we're being honest. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that the Cowboys need to. They have Dan Quinn now as their defensive coordinator, so they're gonna get Dan Quinn guys. I think because that defense is what lost them games last year. Let's be real. Even with Andy Dalton as quarterback, their offense played really well. So it's not the offense that's the issue mainly. It's that defense. So yeah,
Mhm.
you bring in a lockdown, technically sound corner like Surtain. He isn't the most athletically gifted person, but he's going to lock you down. And yeah, I mean that's perfect.
And Trayvon Diggs. Yeah, Trayvon Diggs, is that the name, or am I
Trayvon
getting
Diggs, I
it?
think, had an overrated rookie year, but I think he can still grow.
Oh,
I
he
liked him
definitely had an
coming out.
overrated rookie year, but he did have some. He did have some. He does have potential,
Yeah,
which could
exactly.
be a scary secondary or two corners
And
if
they get
certain.
reunited. Yay! I mean, yeah,
Oh yeah,
you have a chance for a young secondary to grow and develop. Uh, they might go edge rusher, they might go tight end in subsequent rounds, but this is if he's there, you take him. It's
and
really
with the next
boring.
pick in the draft, we got. Sorry,
All right, all right, all right. Hear me
let's
out. Hear
get
me out.
this.
Hear me out. See, the Giants. There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of talent that they can take. They could go edge rusher here, but I mean, you could also get that later in the draft. It's not of huge importance, but there is still a quarterback on the board that other teams are gonna want. No, don't. The Giants aren't taking quarterback. I'm not replacing
Oh,
Daniel Jones just yet.
oh,
Don't
okay,
worry about it.
okay,
So
okay. I
I
was
think
about to
that
flip.
The Patriots have been kind of sitting back, waiting it out because they like this one quarterback, this one Malcolm Jones, if you will. They like what he does. They remind him of Brady, and they don't want to move up too much. They don't want to give up the farm because they're still trying to kind of be in win now mode, but they also want to keep those precious picks. So they're trading up to the 11th spot. Giants moving down to 15. The Patriots are going to be trading Eli Manning's prime back to the Giants. So there you go. And they're giving that to Daniel Jones. And with the 11th pick of the
Yeah,
draft,
wait,
the New
wait,
England Patriots select what?
it glitched out, so I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, New England is trading Eli Manning's prime back to the Giants. Um, to go to the 11th spot. I assume it wouldn't be too much. It would probably be more picks in this draft. So maybe like they'd move up and also like swap. They'd probably give you a second and swap thirds maybe. So you would probably get a haul back, but you get Eli Manning's prime back for Daniel Jones, which I think is more important. Really good trade I think. And you're only moving back 4 spots, so the talent that you're looking at might still be there. Um, so yeah, with the 11th pick, the New England Patriots select Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama. He does a lot of what Brady does. The mobility is obviously the issue, but with Brady that was the same case. He's a game manager. He can make the throws that you want him to make. And yeah, I think that's a good Cam Newton. They signed him back on a 1 year deal. He might not even if they need Mac Jones to start right away, he can do it, and he can help the Patriots contend again.
It didn't say. I know. In a previous video, I said that Mac Jones was not going to be good, but after looking more into him, I realized I was wrong. It's not really he's going to be good, he's going to be bad. It's who he's with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying, and in the past couple of weeks, I've been saying to someone I go to school with who is a Patriots fan that the scariest thing to happen in the NFL draft is Mac Jones going to the Patriots because he fits perfectly into the Belichick scheme.
The Josh
And
McDaniels scheme.
yeah, it fits in perfectly, and he exceeds everything that makes Brady so good.
He was a
Obviously,
Heisman finalist.
he's not going to be the next Brady. Most likely not going to be the next Brady, but he still exceeds the way he's strong at game managing, and it's going to suck having another Patriots dynasty.
That's a New England quarterback right there. Now at number 12, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock. The Eagles invested a lot in wide receiver last year in the draft. But
Jalen
right now
Reagor.
their starting receivers are Jalen Rager and Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward. Last year they wanted to go a lot for speed in the draft because Carson Wentz obviously it was the idea that Carson Wentz needed a deep threat for the future because that fit his needs. So they went with a Jalen Rager. I mean, kind of a mistake now that you look back at what Justin Jefferson did. But Jalen Hurts is more of a quarterback where if his first read isn't open, he's gonna run it. And you don't want him to run every time because that gets predictable. So you want a receiver who's gonna get open right away. While Jalen Waddle is on the board, and I kind of like Jalen Waddle better than Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith's route running will get him open. So with the 12th pick in the draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Devontae Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. He's just someone who can get open, make the catches that you need for even on inaccurate balls. He was a 4-year starter, 4-year player at Alabama.
Yeah,
Played
yeah, I
with
don't think
Tua, played with Mac Jones, was the
he played
Heisman
with
winner.
Hurts. I think he played. Yeah, he
He
did play with
he
Hurts
played with Hurts,
because
but I don't know if
the year.
I don't know if he like just started at all. He
Yeah, no,
might
because I was
have.
gonna say the game that Tua came in for Hurts, the Georgia National Championship game. Devontae Smith was the one to catch the
Yeah.
game-winning touchdown. So yeah, he did play a little bit with Hurts. So that'll just be a reuniting there.
Yeah, I like the pick. There's so many scenarios the Eagles could do. They can even trade back for Rashad Bateman. They could go J.C. Horn here because their corners. Eesh. Um, but stay tuned on that. With the 13th pick after Atlanta has traded back, they have a new. They got Dean Spanos now. They got a new soccer field. They want defense. They just got rid of Tack McKinley, who didn't really shape up to be what they wanted. So I have them getting an edge rusher who kind of reminds me a little bit of Tack McKinley, except bigger. I have Kwity Paye from Michigan going to Atlanta. I think Kwity Paye fits what they're doing in a 4-3 scheme more than what other for the other edge rushers. I think you're kind of betting on their upside, and
Hmm.
Atlanta has done that way too much. I think, and I think they just need someone who's going to at least get. I mean, of course, people are going to point, oh, he had no sacks, but that doesn't define what an edge rusher can do. He gets so many pressures. He's a game disruptor, I think. Um, and I think that in that NFC South, with going up against ferocious offenses now, you're going to want to have a defense that can at least, get to the quarterback. Him with Grady
Hmm.
Jarrett, I think that D-line becomes better. Um, I think they need improvements all across the defense, and I think this is a good place to start. They trade back to get more assets where they can address even more spots. I think it makes sense.
With the yeah, and say with the outside rushers coming up in this draft, there's none that really blow you away. There is no Nick Bosa. There is no Chase Young.
I actually really like Jalen Phillips. The only issue is the
Jalen,
concussions.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like each, like Jalen Phillips with the concussions, Jason Owen and Kwity Paye both have talent, but none of them had a sack this year. But I'm
Yeah,
saying like
and
there's
they
so
give you
much,
different things though. I think Kwity Paye can do a
yeah,
little bit more than Owe. Owe is more of a speed rusher.
yeah. I'm saying like there's a lot of like talent, but there is no bona fide stud. There's no one that you know for a fact is gonna come in
Yeah.
and work and like play amazing. So
No, you're
it
right.
really
And
so there could be any like
that's why I
you
had
want
Atlanta
to
trade back for that too, because I think that they are not going to reach at 4 when they can trade back, get assets, and still get a guy who's going to help them out. I think Quiddy Pay just works for Atlanta. Such an Atlanta thing. So
and so
now
there is oh yeah you go yeah
at 13, or no, I just did 13. 14.
14.
14, Minnesota could go they could go a few ways. They definitely need offensive line help, but they're getting a aggressive phone call. They got the phones ringing off the hook because there's still one dynamic playmaker still on the board. And there's one team who's gonna really want him. So Arizona is spam calling like a crazy ex-girlfriend to Minnesota saying, we want your number 14th pick, and we're going to trade you your old ball boy back. We're giving you Larry Fitzgerald. Even though he's a free agent, they're giving him their old ball boy back to Minnesota for that 14th pick, where the Arizona Cardinals are going to select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama. Because what Kyler Murray does best is throw that deep ball down the side. They wanted Andy Isabella to be a speedster. He didn't really pan out that well. Jalen Waddle is a bona fide speedster. He's a stud. He could be a wide receiver 1, even though he won't be because they have DeAndre Hopkins who can get those contested balls. Christian Kirk can be a deep threat, but you could also put Christian Kirk in the slot. I think that getting Jalen Waddle and only moving up 2 spots to get him, huge steal for the Cardinals. I think the Vikings can go back 2 spots, collect some picks, get who they want, and yeah, you look distressed.
Okay. I think Jalen Waddle will fit in perfectly with that offense. But that offense is not what you're worried about. You're worried about that defense. They need a corner, and I think tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Caleb Farley is still on the board. I think if you trade up, you got to go Caleb Farley there. You can't go Jalen Waddle because there's Christian Kirk, there's DeAndre Hopkins, and then even potentially AJ Green. So there's a chance that you're trading up for for a position that you have talent at, when there's a player who could fit in perfectly at a place where you don't have talent. I think if you trade up, you got to go Caleb Farley, not Jalen Waddle. If Jalen Waddle falls to you, then you take him,
Adam,
but you don't trade up for him.
Adam, do you know who the head coach is? The head coach isn't Brandon Staley. This head coach is not Dan Quinn. This head coach is Cliff freaking Kingsbury. His job, it's on the line. He needs his type of offense to produce. And the way you get your offense to produce is when you get playmakers that fit your offense. DeAndre Hopkins, perfect. Now you need a speedster that isn't named Andrew Isabella. Jalen Waddle fits in perfect as a number 2 option.
Want to tell you what
perfectly fits in with Murray's skill set.
What? Want to hear what I'm feeling? I'm hearing the Dallas Cowboys. They took CeeDee Lamb, which was a great fit for that offense.
The Cowboys didn't have Malcolm Butler or Byron Murphy. Or Buda Baker is a fucking... Buda Baker's like a top 3 safety.
Buda Baker's a phenomenal safety, but you need another corner. You don't know how Butler's going to produce. I feel
he's a good stopgap for now.
Yeah, for now. But you need
there's also... This is such a deep corner draft, Adam. You could get a corner... You could get like a Tay Gowan and like...
It's a deeper receiver class than it is a corner class.
Jalen Waddle fits though. You can get like a Tay Gowan in round 3, and that's perfect for. That's even better for their system. I think he's a big corner, can play a cover 3. You can get that later in the draft. You have Jalen Waddle sitting right there. You go get him.
No.
At number 14.
No.
Or no, 15 now.
The Giants.
15 now. The Giants. They traded back. Looking at the Giants roster, it's actually pretty complete. You know, you could go edge rusher, but there isn't a lot. Like you said, there isn't too many options that really please you. You could go linebacker, but Blake Martinez had a great year. I think he can. You can survive with him for a little bit. Their main issue is that they had Shane Lemieux, I think, starting at right guard for a little bit. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So why not take Elijah Vera Tucker, an offensive tackle / guard out of USC, who's going to fill in a need, and also it's at great value here at 15. You trade back, you get the guy who you want, you get picks later in the draft, you can get edge rushers where there's better value later on in the draft. I like this pick for the Giants. You know, I think that this is exactly what they need on offense, especially.
I love that pick because we have our offensively, our O-line, we had our center's solid. Our tackles are young, but could do have potential.
It's really Will Hernandez at left guard.
Yeah, Will Hernandez. Yeah, so it's really just Shane Lemieux. The only big thing, which really I see a lot on a debate on the Giants subreddit, is that since there are some very talented tackles that we can get later in the draft, do we take one now, or do we take someone let's just say we get the chance to get a receiver. Let's just say Jalen Waddle falls to us. It's really the debate that do we think the guards later in the draft can fill that hole?
I don't think your receiver room isn't as bad as it was now that you have Golladay. I think Golladay, Shepard, Slayton, John Ross now there. I think that it's solid enough for Daniel Jones. You don't need that much. You have Evan Ingram at tight end. I just think that you've really got to solidify the O-line and give Daniel Jones zero excuses. Now he has to take the Giants to the promised, well, not the promised land, at least to the playoffs to keep his job, I think. And I think that Vera Tucker, at 11, I think that it might have been a little bit of a reach. And a lot of the talent that I think that the Giants could have went with, Micah Parsons, off the board at that point. Rashawn Slater, off the board. I think that if you trade back just a little bit, get a guy who would be at good value, I think that's a good pick for the Giants.
I love the pick. But I feel that what's going to end up happening with the Giants is that they're going to stay where they are and pick Devontae Smith or Devontae Smith. I always get that confused at 11 because I've been hearing a lot of rumors that Dave Gettleman loves Devontae Smith. And then I feel after that, that means Sterling Shepard's going to be on the chopping block with his injuries and high cap hit.
I think that might just be smoke screens, though. I think that might
Oh,
just be to get the Eagles to panic, because I think the Eagles are also looking at Devontae Smith, and maybe like make
I
the
mean
Eagles trade up.
that's only if they fall. Like
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly. It like
Eagles
Lions
aren't
could
in.
easily take Devontae Smith and
Yeah,
ruins
I'm
everything.
saying. I think like the Eagles, if he falls, it's a great pick, but the Eagles aren't in position to trade up.
Yeah, I
That's
don't I
the
don't think
thing.
we should either. I mean,
Like, I think that
we have the
that
assets
trade,
to do so, but we shouldn't.
yeah, the trade back that the Eagles made, I think was great because they have a lot of older guys. They just need to start bringing in. They need to completely reset. I think the best thing you could do is constantly trade back to you fill those holes with young players, and then once you get your team, that's when you trade up and get that star that's going to lead your team.
Yep, no, I agree with you. At 16, the Minnesota Vikings traded back 2 spots. Um, their offensive line remains a little bit of an issue, especially that interior, but I think all across the offensive line you could really get an upgrade. Riley Reef just left. So you move back 2 spots and you get Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. He's been shooting up draft boards this year. He's a solid tackle. He's gonna be there to protect Kirk Cousins. He's just a blue collar guy as well. I think it's just a solid pick. It's not a flashy or sexy pick, but
No,
trading back and getting more assets, it works out really well for the
that's
Vikings.
the after like the top like 10 picks. It's all about like well, actually no, all it is about being solid in the draft. And
It's good
yeah, like you
value.
as fans, you want the flashy picks, you want the picks that everyone's going to talk about, but in the end, you want the guy that's going to come in, work hard, and do what he has to do and do it right.
Okay, here you ready for something else? You ready?
Okay.
So we got the Las Vegas Raiders sitting at 17 here, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can your defense, it needs work, right? Um, just at this point, you're either gonna be reaching on someone or taking somebody who I don't think you necessarily need, and plus there's somebody ringing the table and they're going to give you an offer you can't refuse. The Tennessee Titans are going to give Mark Davis a haircut if they can come up to pick number 17. There's been so many rumors about this, and I think that it fits perfectly. The Titans are going to trade up and get Rashad Bateman at number 17, wide receiver out of Minnesota. He fits basically every box that you could need. I mean, they need a wide receiver too now that Corey Davis is gone. Of course, they have greater needs, but this is going to be a spark plug for this offense. I think that you're not going to have to feed Derrick Henry over and over and over again. I think that having Rashad Bateman and AJ Brown on the perimeter, along with a solid running game, of course, offensive line remains an issue. They can address that later, I think, because it's Derrick Henry, man. Derrick Henry is his own offensive line. And the secondary also, I think, needs work, and that also can be addressed later. But I don't think drafting somebody in the first round is going to fix that, and I think getting a spark like Rashad Bateman would.
I think Rashad Bateman's a phenomenal fit for the Tennessee Titans. I just feel that you need more help on your defense than your offense with the talent that there is at the receiving corps this draft. So if you're going to trade up, again, Caleb Farley's still on the board, if I'm not mistaken.
I still think teams might be scared, even though he cleared medically. I think teams are still kind of scared of that back injury. They're scared that he opted out the whole season. He hasn't played in a while. He's an He's
Jason
an
Horn.
incredible athlete. Fits well in a cover three. And I
There's-
think he would be a good fit for Tennessee. But I just think that they have their eyes on Bateman. And I think trading up for receiver is going to be a common thing.
I think with the receivers in this draft, you don't want to trade up for them because I guess Rashad Bateman does have a lot of potential. I think it's gonna be the Justin Jefferson of this draft, where no one really talks about him as much as one of the big three, but comes in and performs very well from the start. But I just again, I think their biggest hole is at the corner. Well, I think one of the biggest holes is at the corner position. Like, who's gonna be the number one corner? Janoris Jenkins.
Hey, it could be
Like,
worse. It could be worse. Um, At number 18, Miami. I was thinking about trading out of this pick because Miami doesn't need too much, but I think that grabbing a guy like an edge rusher, Gregory Rousseau, the edge rusher out of Miami, Not only are you keeping him in Miami, keeping him close to home, but Gregory Rousseau has so much upside, so much potential. He's huge. He's 6'7", can play deep. He can switch between edge, but also go sorta on the interior with that size. He can project there, and I think that kind of moving versatile piece fits that Brian Flores defense. Um, they had like their edge rushers are fine. But they just traded away Shaq Lawson, which is a little, he could be the Shaq Lawson replacement, but also kind of an upgrade over a guy like Andrew Van Ginkel, who played phenomenally. But you just always can't have enough on that front seven, I think.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they also lost Kyle Van Noy, who never panned out, but
Yeah. So I think that's a phenomenal pickup. The only thing that'll stop them is Christian Darrisaw taking
Christian
a.
Darrisaw is gone at that point. You mean
He
Christian
is.
Barmore? Do you mean
No.
Barmore?
Wait, where did
Darrisaw went to the
Darrisaw?
Vikings.
Oh, never mind then. Yeah, I forgot that. I didn't say if because he was there getting Darrisaw would have been a phenomenal pickup. I think they need O line and D line because to me you can never have enough O line and D line.
hmm Um,
And yeah, so either way they go is I think it's a phenomenal pick at that
They
spot.
have a good spot in the second round where they can go interior line as well.
Yeah.
Um, Number 19, this would be a good fit, but it does mean I think that so this is the Washington football team. I think this means Landon Collins is gonna be on the move. But I have Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa, a Notre Dame guy, Notre Dame linebacker to the Washington football team. I think he is a linebacker, but he's more of like a sub package linebacker, kind of like your Jamal Adams ish. You can put him in the slot, you can put him at strong safety, kind of like Isaiah Simmons was last year. On a lesser scale, I think that the football team needs a linebacker. I think that he is kind of a do it all guy. You can put him anywhere. But I do think that means Landon Collins might be on the move, because
Mhm.
they do similar things in my opinion. He's
Say
a solid though.
I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I watched a lot of the games. Jeremiah Usu-Karamoa is a phenomenal tackler. Like you said, does it all, works hard. The only thing, like, I think it's a great pickup for them. I just felt that like him going to the Raiders was the best, would like is the best matchup for any prospect. Like obviously, besides the Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, like outside like the top seven, it's the best fit for any. And he fits other places. I just think that's like a match made in heaven. The Raiders, and Jeremiah Usu-Karamoa.
And I was debating that too, but I think the Raiders were actually kind of looking at a different prospect who they think that they can get later on for better value. Stay tuned for that. Number 20, the Bears. They have so many things that they need to do. They have so many places they can go. But there is a player on the board right now that you've been pounding the desk for this entire time. They have a need at corner, and I think Caleb Farley has fallen far enough. He's learned his lesson for getting hurt. Um, so at pick number 20, the Chicago Bears will be taking Caleb Farley, corner out of Virginia Tech. Just a great fit. He's a cover three dude, athletic. He might not be able to be there right away, but the Bears are it's gonna take a while for them to compete again, and build that defense back up. I think he's a good piece to start with. Next year they're probably gonna do bad and get a quarterback, but having a young corner to build around on that defense is exactly what they did with Kyle Fuller, and look how that turned out. I think he actually translate very well to what Kyle Fuller also came out of Virginia Tech. So they came out of the same system. They do very similar things. I think Farley's even a little bit more athletic, and has better ball skills, but it might take a little bit. There's still a red flag, but I think that Farley has fallen far enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That nothing much I could say. I think that's a great fit. I think the Bears are lucky that he fell that far.
Yeah.
Not much to say. Very solid pickup.
And then with the 21st pick, Indianapolis. Indianapolis never does anything in free agency. I think we talked about that last episode, but you said I mean they've built solid teams through the draft, and I think that they could go tackle here, but there's nobody who's available right now who's going to give you that Anthony Costanzo replacement that you need. I think the way to go right now is get the value with the edge rusher. I think Azeez Ojulari, the edge rusher out of Georgia, is the way to go. He's an athletic freak. Justin Houston's aging. He's not going to be there much longer. They need an edge rusher. They need to get some pass rush. Um, yeah, I think that having Azeez Ojulari terrorizing Trevor Lawrence for years to come might be in the Colts' best interest.
Again, yeah, I have the Colts taking a defensive end in my draft, not Olujari. I have a
Ojulari.
terrible name, Ojulari. But I think that's a phenomenal pickup. Like I just said, you can have enough defensive linemen. I think just help beating that young defense, that young hungry defense is going to be great pickup for the
Yeah,
Colts.
now you got Buckner, you got Ojulari. It's good. Yeah, good first round pick, I think. Um, at 22, Las Vegas is now on the clock after trading back. And they didn't do anything to address their secondary except for just recently when they re-signed Carl Joseph, but that's not going to really do much in my opinion. So they're going to take the best safety in the draft now at better value. I think that's who they were kind of eyeing the whole time. I think they wanted to get Mark Davis that haircut that he needed. Um, and so they trade back and they get Trevon Morig, safety out of TCU, with a 22nd pick. I think a lot of people are overlooking him, but this is a perfect place for him to go. Um, they never really had a solid safety, so maybe this will be a good improvement for their defense. I think.
hmm So I
So they
think
won't
that's
they won't give up those Ryan Fitzpatrick face mask throws anymore.
I think that's a great idea for the secondary. I would have probably went with J.C. Horn. I believe he's still on the board. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. And if I'm being honest, I still need to make edits to my draft. I don't think I have Morig. I think that's you said the name is in my first round.
I mean that's fine. He might even fall. The safety class is very weak this year.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like Xavier McKinney where he falls, or like
Yeah,
the
all the safeties last year fell out of the first round, and they all
yeah he
actually had
fell.
pretty solid first years,
Yeah.
except for Grant Delpit who didn't play. But
Oh yeah, I
speaking,
completely forgot because he Grant Delpit has a lot of potential. He just keeps getting hurt.
yeah, well he just didn't. Well,
Terrible.
I think he opted out actually. I don't know
No,
though.
no, he tore his ACL.
Oh, right, yeah. You're right. Speaking of J.C. Horn, at 23, the New York Jets. Wow, what a way to fall! What a way to have probably one of the best corner, one of the best corners, maybe the best corner in the draft, fall to you at 23. I think that people have been trying to go for other needs and get in value. They've been focusing on that, and J.C. Horn has just kind of kept on falling and falling and falling for and that just happens on draft night. A lot of talent falls, and I think that J.C. Horn might be one of those players. And if he falls to New York in that Robert Saleh system, where they had players like Jason Verrett ball out, basically doing a lot of the same things that J.C. Horn does, he can be their Jason Verrett or their Richard Sherman. They need to build up that defense. I think that they could go edge rusher, but you can't ignore the value of J.C. Horn at 23. Phenomenal pick if that ever happens. Um, at 24, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they need a running back, but I don't like drafting running backs in the first round at all. I think that's repulsive. It's gross. It's such a deep class too at running back. You can be, I think all. Hey, spoiler alert! I don't have any running backs in the first round. I just think that that's not the way to go unless there's a generational talent like a Saquon or a Leonard Fournette. And you see how that turned out too. They wasted a fourth overall pick on him. So they lost Alejandro Villanueva this offseason. I mean, they could still re-sign him, but I don't think they will. Um,
Mhm.
I think that they're gonna want to, have that offensive line ready for whichever quarterback they're gonna bring in next year. There's no quarterbacks that you're taking anymore in the first round unless you really want to take a giant reach for like a Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond, which you're not doing. You're not gonna do that. So they're gonna take Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Whoa, I almost said
Oklahoma.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think that fit just works. He's a mauler. He's the nastiest tackle in college football. He reminds me of Brian Bulaga. He'll just be fine. He's a good plug and play guy you can just slot in there day one.
hmm
And
yeah, I would say you brought it up with the running back. I do have them taking a running back. I do agree taking a running back unless it's a generational talent in the first round. It's not the best way to go. But obviously, teams feel differently with us, with like Clyde Edwards-Helaire going first round last year.
Josh Jacobs. Yeah,
So
I know Jacobs. Yeah, I
gosh,
know.
it really depends on how the team feels. But yeah, I felt that either the running back or like the guard is the best way for the Steelers to go, or the
Yeah,
tackle. My bad.
like they got what Chuks Okorafor, like a fourth round pick from a few years ago, a third round pick out of a few years ago starting. I think you're gonna have to have an upgrade. I think Tevin Jenkins is that upgrade. 25. Uh-oh. This is where the Jaguars would pick. Jaguars, I know they've been eyeing Pat Fryermuth, but he might fall. But they still do need a tight end, and there's a team that's it's a team that's shopping a tight end right now. Um, so you're gonna hate me. I have the Eagles trading back into the first round. They're going to trade the Nick Foles Bud Light statue that's in front of their stadium to Jacksonville so they can have a tribute to Nick Foles as well after he did so much for the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise. They're going to trade back into the first round. And they're going to take Greg Newsome, a corner out of Northwestern. He is completely underrated. A lot of people say Asante Samuel is better. I think Asante Samuel projects more as a slot guy early on. I think Greg Newsome can play outside, can play inside. He is a part of that stout Northwestern defense that made Justin Fields lose his mind. I think Greg Newsome would be a perfect. The Eagles need a corner, like probably more than a receiver. I can acknowledge that. I think Greg Newsome's upside, his athleticism, his IQ is phenomenal. I think that the Eagles would be realistically they'd probably trade a package that involves Zach Ertz to Jacksonville, so Trevor Lawrence can have a solid, sturdy target to go to instead of somebody like a DJ Chark or Laviska Shenault. I mean, they're fine, but you want like a security blanket. You could take a gamble on Pat Freiermuth, who will probably do fine, but getting a guy like Zach Ertz and only trading back a few spots into the second round, getting more picks, more value to build around Trevor Lawrence, I think that works for both teams.
No, 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 no. You definitely rigged this draft that better the Eagles having the Giants trade back so they can get Devontae Smith, having them trade in to get a corner.
I think the Giants need Devontae Smith.
What?
Do the Giants need Devontae Smith?
I don't think so.
Devontae Smith might give you like a little bit more than what like Sterling Shepard does currently.
I do agree with that, but then again, there's a lot of rumors that Dave Gettleman is in love with.
There's rumors every year, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the chances of the Giants taking Devontae Smith are relatively high. I think you definitely rigged this draft to get.
I didn't know that. You that was news to me when you just told me. How was I supposed to know that when I was making this draft? There's also rumors that the Eagles are in love with Kwity Paye, and if they take Kwity Paye in the first round, I might just shoot myself in Minecraft. Like, oh my god, that would be such a Howie Roseman pick, though. Like, I'm so scared that's what's gonna happen. And then round 2, we're gonna take Kyle Trask.
No, the reasoning for they're gonna take Jalen. I forget his name. Jalen Waddle.
I don't think so. We invested too much in speed last year. I think we're just looking.
The only reason why is because what was it? Jalen Reagor and Jalen Hurts. You need to get I remember
we lost Jalen Mills, so we need to replace that Jalen.
After that Jalen Hurts pick, I texted you, and you just go, "Yep, I guess we just love guys named Jalen."
That's true. Like it is true.
And then I know I remember this, and then I texted you, go, "Yeah, haha, they're gonna draft someone named Jalen next year." So if they draft
Jalen Waddle, I'm a genius.
It's oh my god, we cracked the code.
We did it. We figured out who the Eagles are going to draft.
No, but if that's it, I'm going to lose it.
I mean, I don't know if the Eagles would trade necessarily with Jacksonville because Jacksonville still has the first pick of the second round. But just having those assets, I think Jacksonville is going to want to do it. Get even more picks to build around Trevor Lawrence, and getting Zach Ertz, I think, works because who do they have at tight end? Josh Oliver. They had Tyler Eifert. He's gone. They have nobody at tight end. They can draft Pat Freiermuth, which is an alluring option, but Zach Ertz is a proven tight end. He had a down year, but that's also because he was kind of in contract disputes with the Eagles. I think that could be part of it. Carson Wentz the whole offense wasn't having a good year, so I think Zach Ertz to Jacksonville just works for both teams. And the Eagles get Greg Newsome, who isn't going to fix their secondary, but is definitely a good building block that they can put in place. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been like a casual and said that we're going to take Asante Samuel Jr. because his dad played here. But no, I think Greg Newsome's the better corner. At 26, the Cleveland Browns, they need a linebacker. They just got Jadeveon Clowney. I was toying with edge rusher, but I think that getting a guy like Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa, at 26, it's fine value. He's an athletic freak. He's sideline to sideline, great in coverage. I think he just won like Defensive Player of the Year in college. Yeah, lock it up.
Mm-hmm. I had them taking Russo, but now after the Clowney pickup, I might change that around. I don't know yet. I still need to look at it, but I think that's a solid pick. I feel that their offense definitely has talent. Beckham coming back from injury, Rashard Higgins put up numbers. They have solid tight ends. Their O line's amazing. It's really just their defense that they just need to smooth around the edges, and they'll be a very scary team.
Yeah. At 27, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They have a need at receiver, need at edge rusher. You could go for an edge rusher here, which they might do. I think that's just as likely. But give me more speed on that offense. They have Marquise Brown, who's their deep threat. You have Sammy Watkins, who can run a good route for you when he stays healthy. But I think you need somebody who you can just give the ball and watch him just go off. So at the 27th pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida. He's so explosive. He's like the Jalen Rager of this draft, except I think even faster. Jalen Rager's pretty fast, but you just give him the ball. He's incredible after the catch. Yeah, and he can Lamar Jackson. If you're throwing with Lamar Jackson, you don't want him to make too many difficult throws. Marquise Brown can be your deep threat because I think that's more of his forte. And Kadarius Toney is the guy who you dump it off to and watch him get billions of yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's anything you want to say about that.
No, I think it's a solid pickup. I think they need a receiver. I think the Sammy Watkins signing was terrible for them. But no, it's not terrible. It really depends on if Watkins can stay healthy. But yeah,
They just miss so much in the free agency market. I think that this is just kind of compensation, and then they can address edge a little bit later on. There's some okay guys later in the draft. At number 28, the Saints are gonna tumble. They could go so many different directions here. I had them going a few different directions, but I ended up having them go with Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback out of Florida State, with the 20th pick. I think it's good value. Marshawn Lattimore, his status is still up in the air. I think he was just convicted of some sort of crime. We'll see how that plays out. So if he's not ready week 1, you can have Asante Samuel slot in there. Just boost that secondary. They lost to Norris Jenkins. Patrick Robinson didn't really pan out as well. Their secondary is just older. You have your Malcolm Jenkins back there. I think just adding Asante Samuel is a start to rebuild it, to potentially bring with you to the inevitable rebuild, I think. I know that they somehow they got under the cap because of restructuring. No, it's such a bad strategy. I know that as an Eagles fan, all you're doing is just kicking the problem further down the road, and before you know it, you guarantee a salary to a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, who does not deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. They're just gonna have to purge the entire roster, so they might try to make one last push. Which either way, I think you either best thing for them to do. The best thing for them to do. Best thing for them to do is just take best player available in their eyes, and if that's Asante Samuel, it's Asante Samuel, and we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I think he can be elite. But with the 29th pick, Green Bay, they probably won't do this because Green Bay doesn't make the right decisions in the draft. Let's be real. But I think that if Green Bay still needs another weapon, next to Devontae Adams, who's going to be a route runner, do it all. But they need a deep threat. They have, of course, you have your Lazards and your Marquez Valdez-Scantlings, but they're just way too inconsistent.
I think Alan Lazard left.
Did he really? I don't.
I think so. Let me look that up while you speak.
I mean, even if he did, then even better for this pick. They need a wide receiver who is going to drop deep balls and who's also extremely fast. I have them taking Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I have him sneaking into the first round to Green Bay here. I think Rodgers will love this pick, and Jordan Love also. I think that he can be a deep threat, but he's just a really fast receiver who they can develop out there in Green Bay. He can be a contributor for a winner. And Ole Miss has a good track record of producing wide receivers, especially as of late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think getting the receiver is a great pickup for them. And yeah, you're right. They still do have Alan Lazard, but Alan Lazard is more of like the everything but pass catching guy, which is great. He's the down in the trenches. I've heard. He's a beast. Just like you need that guy to take up. You need to fill Marquez Valdez Scantling because MVS is just to me too inconsistent.
Yeah. If he was consistent,
And
they'd call him CVS. Always open.
that's actually great.
Yeah, there's a reason
Okay.
he's MVS. All right. At number 30, this is one of the steals of the draft, I think, in my opinion. At 30, Buffalo, I mean, they drafted Isaiah Oliver a few, not Isaiah Oliver, Isaiah, wait, no, Ed Oliver. What am I saying? Isaiah Oliver is a corner for the Falcons. They drafted Ed Oliver a few years ago. He hasn't been all what they hyped him up to be. They also have Star Latulele. He's kind of on his way out, in my opinion. Who else? They just lost Quentin Jefferson in free agency, I think. So I think to boost this interior D line, they get the best interior D lineman in the draft, who probably could have gone much earlier. Christian Barmore, defensive lineman out of Alabama to Buffalo. I think if he's there, Buffalo's
You take him.
sprinting,
Don't hesitate.
taking the card and sprinting
Don't
up to the
hesitate.
commissioner. He was instrumental for Alabama in that national championship run. Yeah, um, yeah, and
You good?
yeah. Anything you want to say?
No, I think it's a solid pickup. I don't have him falling that deep, so if he does fall, that's a phenomenal pickup for the Bills. Again, like I've been saying a lot this video, you can never have too much defensive line,
And
and they'll just
they don't have a lot of needs. So I think
no.
that they could have they probably would have loved to have a corner here because Taron Johnson's fine, but I think that they can even upgrade that. Um, but yeah, I think that D line is a sufficient.
Mhm.
And at 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. We all know where they're going. It's now just a question of who they're going with. You have a lot of intriguing options. Dylan Radunes is always thrown out there, but he also played at a small school, so there's concerns with that. Um, he's a savage in my opinion. I have them going with Sam Cosmi, the tackle out of Texas. He the one thing people always knock on him is his effort, and I think that if anyone's going to whip him into shape, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, who are winners, and they aren't going to accept people who um, don't put in that effort. He's got the strength, the build to be elite, and he's shown flashes. He just needs to put in a little bit more effort, and I think that he can be a solid building block on that offensive line.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't really argue. I also had them going O line, just a different way. But yeah, I think they just need O line. They got Joe Thuney or Thuney. I always forget how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean
But
Thuney's an interior guy though. They also have Laurent
yeah,
Duvernay Tardif coming back. Um,
so yeah, they just need O line, and because if they protect from Mahomes, you know that they're gonna make a run.
they made a huge investment in Mahomes. They're not gonna let him make the throws he was making in the. We signed back Mike Remmers. Mike Remmers. Don't even get me started on Mike Remmers. I can't believe they re-signed him too. That's such a. That's not it. That's not a move that you should make as championship team. And now for the last pick of the draft. Everyone considers it a luxury. A lot of people want them to go running back here. I just don't see it. Especially they just brought in Gio Bernard, um, and they still have Rojo. I think they still have Rojo. They still have Fournette. I don't think that they go running back here. The Bucks offense, the Bucks entire team is the most complete team in the league, in my opinion. And if
Hmm.
you're drafting somebody, you're probably going to draft someone for when a contract expires. Ryan Jensen, their center, I think he's a free agent next off season. So I would say bring in the best center in college football, in Landon Dickerson at center out of Alabama. With that last pick of the first round, he's not going to be able to play for you right away, probably because of that ACL tear. But Ryan Jensen's is a more than solid starter right off the bat. So Ryan Jensen next offseason, because they don't have that much money to play with next offseason, if I'm not mistaken, he can go get his bag somewhere else. Meanwhile, they still have a replacement to go right on up. They could go edge rusher because I know Shaquille Barrett and JPP have interesting contracts. Um, but I think that getting Landon Dickerson will keep Brady upright. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for them it's really just about investing in the future and like just touching on the edges like it normally is for teams coming off of a Super Bowl win.
Yeah. As it
Uh,
should be. and taking a running back as a luxury pick. We saw how well that turned out for the Chiefs last year. They thought, oh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to fit our system. He's going to fit our system. He didn't do that well. I mean, he did fine. He didn't do that well. All right? If
Yeah.
Darrell Williams is stealing snaps from you, you're doing something wrong, Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was my first round mock draft. It was awesome, and I know that you have no criticisms of it because there is no criticisms to be made of it. It was perfect.
Nope. Okay. You're just like every other Eagles fan. Okay, let's end this.
All right. Make sure if you like this to subscribe. We're going to have Adams coming out soon. It's going to be so much worse than the one you just heard. You just heard Heaven for like however long this has been going on. Like, comment, subscribe, share to your Twitters, share to your Instagrams. A lot of the information that I've retained is from Broshmo on YouTube. Go check him out. He's a great... And also that franchise guy. They're great NFL... And the Goat House, obviously. Great NFL draft outlets almost, and Mel Kiper, obviously you got your NFL analyst, but I prefer these YouTube guys. That's where I get a lot of my information from. I'm not trying to parrot their talking points. I do definitely try to study film, but definitely go check them out because that's where I get a lot of my knowledge of these prospects from. Anything you would like to add, Adam?
No. Thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments if Jish, obviously he did, but just yell at Jish for his dumb picks in the comments.
And also, just remember,
please like and subscribe.
If you're watching this after draft day and the Eagles, with the 12th pick, select Kwity Paye, we're getting the Fire Howie Roseman chain right back in the comments. All right. Take care. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you all.